Are you ready?
As I'll ever be today.
I have presents for you.
Oh.
I think everything in this bag is for you. So I wanted to get it on camera.
You wanted to get it on camera? You giving me this bag of presents?
I'm giving you presents because you're doing such fine work.
What is this? Oh my god. It's Shinji.
So you can add it to your table in the back.
Oh my god, it's Shinji's Eva. Oh my god. Look at that. Where is the lens? Is that the lens? Do you see his little head in there? Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh my god, I can't believe here I am in my 40s and I'm getting like an anime gift, like, right? Like a robot, and I am like super excited. Like never in my life would I have ever thought that I would have been excited over toys.
Oh no! Again, you're lucky the comments are off again.
Yeah, okay, look, it's not my usual language over these collectibles. Oh my god, I can't believe it. I am so excited. Should I open this?
Anybody watching the video would probably say no, but go ahead.
No, I mean get it out of the box at least. Just keep it in the box.
No, you can take it out, because take it out and examine and have fun.
I mean, should I keep it in the box like what everyone else does?
You don't have to do that. You're not that hardcore.
No, I mean, like by chance, like I got these gifts that are like behind me, but this is, oh my god, it has detachable parts.
It's an action, it's a model.
Oh my god, look at this. He's got different hand expressions.
Yeah, so you can put him in action poses.
Oh, that's way too much. Wow.
You have definitely earned it. Even though you're not done, but we'll be done soon.
Wow. I mean, what do? I don't even know what to do with this.
You're just gonna put it back. Actually, I would approve.
What am I gonna do?
Since you've made it so far in this project, and I know Shinji is really your thing, that's what I gotcha.
Shinji is definitely my thing. So I actually had looked it up online to get myself a B5 shirt,
Yeah.
so I could wear it for one of our recordings.
Oh.
And like you're ahead of me. You're so ahead of me.
I couldn't find one that wasn't like crazy. I just wanted like a basic one for you.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. I'm gonna have to wear that for our next B5 recording. I'm totally wearing this next time. It's a little cold today too.
It is kind of cold.
Yeah, I don't know. Summer like came and like then went. Oh! Oh my god, is this a magnet?
It is. They're all magnets in there. I knew you liked that.
I love this quote. You seek meaning, then listen to the music, not the song. Oh, that's going on my 80s fridge. And I got more magnets?
Yeah. They're a little cute.
How am I? They're great. I definitely love this. I absolutely love this. Oh.
Now you can have your nerve coffee.
Yep. I will be drinking out of this from now on during our shows.
Since now you work for Nerve.
Do I really work for them? This is great. What a great color, too. Oh, it says your name on it on the bottom.
It does?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was for me. Specially printed.
Okay, look. I have a question. Is that half a leaf?
Yes.
Okay.
The Nerve logo actually has a lot going on in it. But again, I will tell you when you finish the series because it'll give away a lot if I explain it.
There's so much going on back there now. I'm so excited.
You're just adding things.
Wow. I mean, I was feeling pretty tired this morning. Thank you. I was feeling pretty tired this morning. I woke up and then I felt like I needed to go back to bed. I'm not sure if it's the weather or, just my symptoms are a little kind of taxing on me this week. It's been a bit of a stressful week for me. It's been long. My week has been very long. Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we're doing B5. The title of the episode is TKO. What episode is it though? I failed to look at the number.
Why do you never know where we are?
Because the title's more important. Okay, I think it's 14. Because the title's more important to me. And now this is something I should have asked you before, but what does TKO stand for? Look. Are you judging me?
No, I'm trying to look up the episode number, Fran.
It's 14.
Is it 14?
Yeah, because I looked at my previous notes and I wrote 13 for signs importance.
Okay, I believe you.
I don't believe me, but it's okay.
Yes, season 1, episode 14. Okay. So what do you think it stands for? Since like...
I mean, the first thing I thought of was like, here's like some fighting going on and...
Yeah, since it's a boxing episode, what do you think TKO stands for?
I called it boxing. It's not really boxing, so, Tyson KO. It's just my free association.
Technical knockout.
Okay. Close enough. I think that's close enough.
Yeah?
You guys gonna give me that? Okay.
I'm gonna give that to you.
Okay. It's close enough. All right. Technical knockout. Okay. All right. Bear with me. I'm a little tired today. My brain is a little bit foggy. I'm a little exhausted. Going through some transitions in my life. But it's actually all good. I'm pretty excited with where my life is headed. But with all change, it's tiring, and whether or not it's good or bad, it hasn't, it takes a toll on you. So please bear with me, but let's go. All right. There's a couple of things in this episode that really resonated with me, and I'll talk about the first one first. Obviously, it is the first one first, but so the first topic I want to talk about is the whole Ivanova and the rabbi and her father, that whole issue, because that was so loud for me when I was watching this episode. As everyone all knows, for people who've been like watching both B5 and Evangelion, I talk about my family dynamics quite a bit. And my own personal relationship with my father was really quite absent. It wasn't really good. And it's much like, it's not exactly like Ivanova's situation, not by a long shot in many ways, but the main theme is there. So when she talks about her father, she basically says that, when she needed him the most, I mean, he was always like this sort of distant person to her. And she had to, she knew that he loved her, but she just knew it. It wasn't ever something that he expressed to her. So she just felt it. But after her mom went and got the treatments, and eventually her mom died and her granny died. Grandma. Ganya?
Her brother.
Oh, Ganya's a brother?
That's his name.
Oh, oops. Okay, that may be a different show I just watched. I'm so terrible. Why am I like this? Okay.
It's okay. It's fine. Her grandmother. No,
Look.
her mother committed suicide and the son died in
The war.
military.
Yeah, the military, yes. Now it's all coming back to me. Please forgive me. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Yeah, she says basically that, when she needed him the most, her father wasn't there for her. When she needed her father's love the most, he wasn't there to give her his love. Now, my relationship with my father was really almost non-existent in any kind of like positive manner. He was always known to me as an alcoholic, aggressive, verbally abusive, especially when he was drinking, and not normal. Any of his behaviors and anything he's ever done never fell within normal range. And it always catches other people by surprise when I describe what my father is like, because they see me and then they see my description of my father, and it just doesn't like seem to add up, even though, and I know it's kind of hard to sort of not want to correlate that, but we are two different people who grew up in two very different times. So Ivanova had all this anger towards her father, and even didn't want to even like go near like any concept of forgiveness with him. Much in the same way, I spent my life hating my father. And that would be the word I would use when I described him to other people, or how I felt about him. I hate my father. And of course, other people would always say to me, well, he's your father, how can you hate him? Or especially with like within the Korean culture, you're supposed to respect your elders and have filial piety and can't really show disrespect, right? But that was always like my description of my father. I hate my father. As years went by, and as I, went to school for psychology, understanding people, as much as I was understanding everyone else around me and like where they came from and what their struggles were that contributed to like, their personalities and the people they became, when it came to my father, I still didn't see it any other way. I still had all this negative feelings tied to him. Because in the back of my mind, I always keep thinking, our lives could have been so much different. Our lives could have been so much better. So where am I trying to go with this? It's also different when you are trying to work within your own family relationships to see someone differently too. Even though you know more intimately what their life history is like, because you just sort of feel like you're owed, right? Your family, and there should have been love, there should have been kindness within, there should have been more happiness, more joy. And these are just all expectations of what people hold on to when they think of family. But really, people carry their own baggage. And sometimes that baggage is not something that, people are really willing and ready to share. And sometimes people are never able to share that even for their whole lifetime. So for me, it was so much easier to hold on to the feeling of hating my father than thinking anything else, than thinking otherwise. That feeling was so ingrained in me, and it was so familiar. And I thought about, what it meant to let that go. Thought about it for a long time. If I held on to the feeling of hating my father for so long, for decades, what would it mean to let it go now? What would it mean to let it go at any point in my life that was not decades ago? it would have meant that I could have understood him a lot sooner. It could have meant that there was a possibility that there could have been some change. I don't know. But I couldn't let go of that because I had invested all that time hating him. And then to like change my mind about how I felt about him in more positive ways, then all that time I spent in negativity, what was that for? And that becomes such a sore spot, right? All that time that I could have had I been at a different place, it could have been different. And letting that go somehow sort of, adds to that pile of regret, right? Or it makes it just that much harder to know that you could have done something different, and it makes it harder for you to like even sit with that. I recently went to a trauma conference. It was this huge conference with the pioneers of basically trauma work. Bessel van der Kolk and Gabor Mate, they were there and they were speakers, but there were all these other researchers in the field, and they presented all this material. Trauma has such an impact on not only someone's psychological functioning and interpersonal functioning, but also physiological functioning. There is a complete rewiring of your brain that happens when you are exposed to trauma. And that changes how you interact with the world. That changes how you perceive the world. It gave me a time to really reflect on my father. And sort of not see him as my father, but see him as someone who was exposed to so much trauma in his life. My father was born in 1938. He's quite old now. He was born in 1938 in Japan, and he was born during the time of basically the atomic bombings. And although he wasn't directly impacted by this, he was affected by the war because the whole feel of like that war was impacting all of Japan at that time. And there were like, he hasn't shared much of this. Recently I spoke to my father's sister, who actually came to visit me, and she told some stories, and I was able to piece more things together about who my father was and what he was exposed to as a child. And then he moved to Korea when he was like 8, and then the Korean War broke out. And then when he was in his teens, I think it was between the ages of 17 and 19, he lost both of his parents consecutively, one after the other. When I think about his life, and try to not think of him as my father and just think of him as more human, I came to understand much more about why he is the way he was, and why he felt so cold and distant, and why he was an alcoholic. And then within me I felt, more of this compassion building. In a family system, there's always a dynamic where each person plays a certain role, and everyone plays that certain role. And unless, the theory is that if one person's role changes, then the whole dynamic of that family system can change. So I decided, because now, you know, like I'm actually like really have thought this really through. I decided to be, and now I am able to be, that sort of one person in the family where I can change my own role. Instead of being the one who is holding on to anger towards my father, I can be more compassionate. And I've seen a change. There's been a difference. Ivanova talked about how she couldn't forgive her father, and she wanted to hold on to that, right? She couldn't let it go. She was so angry at him for her own reasons. Sometimes when you hold on to something so long, you just don't want to let it go. But sometimes though, there are times when you kind of like want to think to yourself, what would it be like if if you let something go that you held on for so long? What could change? I wonder if that was what Ivanova felt. That feeling towards her father was just more familiar, and outside of that was not going to be as comfortable. For me, it was that outside of this family dynamic that I had, it was familiar. But it wasn't comfortable. And the thought of like changing my family dynamic also doesn't feel comfortable. Because it's like, wow, we're gonna have love and positivity now? What is that? Is that right? And there's a part of you that just kind of feels like, ew. That somehow doesn't feel right. It doesn't seem to sit right, because you're supposed to be all angry with each other and all hate each other and all just want to like wring each other's neck when you see each other, right? But again, it goes all back to, it could have been like this all along. That's not to say that you're not invalidating your feelings. It's just about getting to a place where you can be more understanding, and you come into it, not just simply understanding, you own it, you become it. And then you just become something different. This episode and Ivanova really was timely for me. Where I am in my life right now, I'm like finally coming into myself, and I feel it. It feels so different. And I think this is probably like the most peace I've ever felt within me throughout my whole entire life. And that's really quite, amazing that I would ever feel this way. Like I would ever come to feel this way, ever. And Elaine, what my life has been like, so it's quite amazing that it's possible. I never would have thought. When the rabbi came and was talking to Commander Sinclair about, Ivanova's situation, that was a scene I didn't approve. I know he's trying to help, and I know eventually it got to the outcome it did, and I think everyone's different. Everyone is different. That's someone's personal private life, and he's sharing it with basically her boss. Mm-hmm. And that's not a line I would have ever crossed.
You are aware of the recent death of Susan's father?
No. When did this happen?
A few months ago. He was very ill. It was not unexpected. I understand she was speaking to him from here the moment he died.
She never said anything about it.
I'm not surprised. Susan has always been very private about such matters. And there was bad blood between them. You know about her mother.
I know she was a telepath and that she took her own life.
Great tragedy. And one for which I believe Susan always blamed her father. A year later, when her brother Ganya was killed in the Minbari Wars, and Susan chose to join Earth Force against Andrei's wishes. The rift between them became greater still.
I see.
Susan has traveled a hard road, Commander. Now that her family is gone, that road is harder still. I'm worried about her.
How can I help?
It is Jewish tradition to mourn the dead by sitting Shiva, so that family, friends, members of the Jewish community can gather at the home of the bereaved to offer comfort and also help fulfill the obligation of prayer for the departed.
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Well, Susan has not done this, and I believe it would help her accept her father's death.
And you know, Ivanova also makes mention of that. She said, I've had my whole life where my father took control of my life, and I don't need him, I don't need you to take over. So that's one scene that I am a little bit critical of. However, I know that the rabbi meant well because he cares, obviously. All the interactions that I saw with Commander Sinclair in it, I can't separate him from his own real life, right?
Oh.
I during all these scenes, because I really respect him, and in the B5 series, I look up to him. I like the way he is. I like his personality. I like his approach. He's not perfect, and I don't expect him to be. And in those moments of imperfection, he also is very human, and I like that too. But when I watch him on screen, I just can't separate him from, you know, his real life. And I always feel like this pang of pain, you know. On scene, he is just wonderful. He's absolutely wonderful. And it makes me sad that that was his life. All right, there's a lot of obvious things in this show, you know, that they talk about, like cultural appropriation and the line where Ivanova says that, you know, her father said to her when she joined Earth Force. Terrible. I'm so terrible. When she joined the military and she was going out to space, you know, Ivanova says that her father said to her, humanity has no business in space until we could learn to live in peace on Earth. I mean, these are all obvious messages in our world today. So I don't really have much to talk about. There's a lot of opinions out there. So I'm going to leave that alone. It doesn't personally resonate with me in the sense that it's pretty obvious what we all need in our world today.
What?
What's that guy's name? The guy who was trying to do the
Mutai?
Mutai.
Walker?
Yeah, Walker. Why are they like this in this show, right?
This place is only for Mutare. Go.
Relax, E.T. I'm looking for the Mutado. I'm Walker Smith from Earth. I'm here to fight in the Mutai.
Humans do not fight in the Mutai. Go back to Earth. Walker Smith.
Who the hell are you?
Relax, E.T. I'm looking for the mutado. Like, why is it like this? I mean, Garibaldi is like the same too. When he was like, you know, I'll put you, when he was talking to Natoth, you know, I'll put you in jail until your scales turn gray or something. Your spots turn gray. Like, why? Why? I mean, is it just to show that there's like always going to be hostility among species? Because that's supposed to be normal.
He's arrogant and a little racist.
Yeah, and he doesn't show up.
And
you know, talk about cultural appropriation. He doesn't show up to the dojo, the mutado, right? He doesn't show up, you know, with that sort of respect for being even in that space that humans don't even belong, right? When you go into a space of another culture, you want to do your utmost best to show honor and respect for that space and that culture. That's all it comes down to. It's as simple as going into someone's home and making sure you respect their home, because it's not yours. You don't just walk up to their fridge and just open their doors and help yourself without asking or without being welcomed to. It's the same. That doesn't change. That's it. That's all it takes, and I'm not really quite sure why that's so hard. But then the irony of it is that like other people expect that respect from you. The same perpetrators. It's not hard to show honor and respect for someone else's space, no matter what form it comes. Someone's home, culture, space, privacy. It's important. Because after all, the only thing sacred that we all personally have in our world for ourselves is just our own space. And the last thing we need is someone to violate that. I only have one other thing I want to talk about.
okay.
I don't know if you're going to have questions for me, but the one other thing I want to talk about is this. When the rabbi sees Ivanova, when he came to visit her in her home, he says to her,
This is my first time among the stars, you know. Such vastness seen so close makes one feel very small.
That line brought me to this time in my life this moment in my life where I was doing my internship in Boston, and it was after I left your home, and I'm driving, and this is at night, and I'm driving back to my apartment in Boston. And we had this conversation about spirituality. And that was the first time it dawned on me what spirituality finally meant for me. And this line sums it up for me, right there. And it was it couldn't have been a more perfect time for me to have had this epiphany. It's dark. I'm driving on, is it 91? Who knows? There's just a fake tree. That's all I know along the way. The fake tree.
Telephone pole thing, yeah.
The wire pole or the telephone pole with fake grass on it and fake leaves on it. That's the one thing I know of this road, okay? And I've always driven on this road mostly during the night. So that's the only thing that I really remember. But I remember having this conversation with you, and it dawned on me that I finally understood what spirituality meant for me. And I'm looking up on the stars and like the sky, and it was such a clear night, and the stars were so bright because there wasn't really much lighting on this highway. There were no other cars on the road. It was so peaceful. And I'm just talking to you, and we're having this conversation.
Yeah, I remember.
And I thought to myself, this is it. I'm on this road physically all by myself. The sky is so huge above, and there were so many stars that like lit up the sky. And I thought, like, in the grand scheme of things, like within Earth and the whole universe, I'm just this one little tiny little pebble, a little speck that was driving my 2000 Nissan Altima that couldn't go past 70 on this road. And I thought to myself how vast this world was, how vast our universe was. And I'm just this little speck on this huge map. And I felt like that was so amazing. And that as a little speck on this little map, I thought to myself that within me and also around me, I still had power to influence. And that I couldn't take anything for granted. That even though I was this like tiny little speck, that I could be as big as I wanted to be. And that was within me. So this line was so beautiful. It's exactly what I said to you that day. It's exactly the conversation we had. And this is how I felt. This is how I understand spirituality. Am I looking forward to more B5? Absolutely. Absolutely. Every time I watch the show, there's always something that like resonates with me, and it takes me to this deep place. You know, when you go about your everyday life, for me it seems like you have like less of those moments where you could sort of take time for yourself and like reflect. This week was particularly busy. Last week was busy. So having these like sort of snippets of messages come at me in this way, and having this time that's allotted for my own personal reflection, it's been very nice. It's been nice. It's been insight inducing. It's been peaceful and spiritual. It's really nice, you know, as a therapist, using this medium of media therapy to tap into myself has been really I don't even know how to describe this. It's been just really like, it's been nice. It's had moments of really, I've had these powerful moments. It's been powerful. That's the best way to describe that.
Even though you're not having these like born to the purple moments, they're more like just the act of being able to do this and, you know, sit with yourself and think about things, you mean?
Yeah. You know, when I went to this trauma conference, right? I went to this one all-day session where it was like Afro dance and releasing trauma from your body. I didn't
Did you say Afro dance?
It was like Afro. No, it was like Afro. I have to go get my card. Okay, but like, look, it was basically the incorporation of African drum and imagery and like guided imagery to release trauma from your body. And it was a huge group. We were encouraged to participate. It was a really large space and everyone was out there. All the chairs were in the periphery. Everyone was out there and shaking their stuff. shaking their stuff. So it was guided imagery, but we were out there doing movements, right? And some of the people reflected at the end, and they were like talking about how transformative this experience was for them, because it's so not a part of our life, right? Where we have this time allotted for us to think to ourselves, reflect, just be within ourselves. We're just always on the go, right? Go, go, go. We're like one thing to the other. People have families, children, appointments, clients, work, job, whatever. It's always go, go, go. So when, like for the average person, I'm not quite the average person, but for the average person, I realize they don't really have time that's like spaced out for them, like that's carved out for them to just do them. I make sure I have time, carved out for myself, because after my whole experience of burnout, this is very important to me. But this is different. Media therapy is different because it's like, okay, well, we watch our show together during the week. Then during my car rides on my commute to and from work, I think about some parts of the episode. And then I sit down, and this is where I do all my processing. And this is my own personal space that's carved out for me, where it's like, oh, this is how I feel, this is how I think, and I'm actually articulating it in the way that I'm articulating it. And often I actually end these moments feeling like, wow, I thought these things. I felt these things. So it's very powerful to me.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and so every Saturdays, I do look forward to this. And also, it's like the only time I get to see you now, so that's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Even though it's like, it's still once a week, but it still seems infrequent, compared to all the time I had before. We're both very busy.
There was something I wanted you to elaborate on.
I don't know feeling words in Korean, and that's really essential in therapy.
Isn't it kind of?
Right. In my family, we never had feelings, remember, other than anger.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask you. How is it that just because you changed your attitude towards your father, that changes the whole dynamic of the family? Like you said, things are different now that I've changed my attitude, but how does you changing your feelings mean that everyone else is better? Or is it just your perception or whatever?
No, it literally changes the dynamic.
That's what I want you to get into.
So, I'm cracking up because it was a funny moment. I think I have a piece of hair on my face. Okay. My parents and my aunt came over to stay with me last weekend. And my brother also came. I drove them to a lavender farm. Just because the drive is pretty. It's not in bloom yet. The drive is pretty. It was just to get them out of the house. There's nothing to do in Connecticut, okay? Especially for non-English speaking people, okay? Unless there was a Cirque du Soleil, but that wasn't happening. So, my mom and I were sitting outside on a bench outside of the shop, and my mom wanted a picture of us. My father was standing right there. I handed my dad my phone to try to take a picture of us, right? I handed it to him. He's facing it to us. I gave him directions. I even had him practice. But because my dad's not normal and he's older and he's not gonna get it, he turns my phone around and then just starts going like this.
Towards you?
Towards us, just bringing it towards us. And he did it in such slow motion because you could see he's like the cogwheel spinning, but it was spinning so slow and nothing much was going up in there. My mom and I were watching this in slow motion, and we are just dying laughing. But I started cracking up first. And I saw such humor in this, even though it's tragic, right? In its own ways, it's tragic that this is a man who lived his whole life without typical and normal range of functional abilities. I started cracking up first. In a moment like this, my mom, who lives with him and is stressed out by his everyday actions that are just not normal, it stresses her out completely to live with someone like this. Because I started laughing first, she started cracking up. And that moment turned into a positive moment rather than one of frustration and anger. Because I chose to not be frustrated. I chose this situation to see it as humor rather than helplessness. I chose it to see it as something that was positive rather than negative or irritable.
So the difference between, what are you doing? Why can't you do this correctly?
Correct. Instead of being critical in that moment, because I know he doesn't have the ability to do it, I chose to laugh. And that made a difference in that one moment. Now, if you take that, it has a trickle effect too. If you take that moment and then you sort of see these other moments as part of being humorous rather than like frustrating or anger inducing, it can change. It could also change the people around you. Because in that moment I chose laughter, the rest of that day was positive. There was no trickle effect of negativity that would typically happen with negativity. We went home just telling other positive stories and laughing, and then in the car, my mom, we were like cracking up. So my aunt came around the corner and she said, "Why are you laughing?" And you know, the sharing of that story reinforced the positivity of that moment. And that's what changed. That's how it can change a family dynamic. If one less person is stressed out, think about it. In a family of 4, that means there's at least 1/4 positivity. And that 1/4 of positivity can turn into half.
So what would have that situation been like had you not changed?
Oh, we would have been yelling in the middle of like
Yelling at him?
Yelling at him, yelling in the streets because there's no shame. We're a family full of rage, right? I mean, I would have been embarrassed, but you know, there would have been yelling. There would have been like, why are you so useless? You know, why do you not understand how to do this? It's so simple. Instead, it was just a moment of understanding. It's like, all right, well, come here, Dad, and let's just do a selfie this way.
Right.
I cut my mom off, but it's okay. I cut her face off.
Did he laugh?
Oh, he did. And to see him laugh is also a rare thing too. You know, it was so amazing to see this. I don't often see my dad laugh because there's a lot of anger and stress and irritability and hostility, right, in the home. So he knew he couldn't do it. So as he was doing this and we're cracking up, he's laughing too. So of course it changed. The whole moment changed. It could have easily went from 0 to 100 with a fight. But it didn't. I chose laughter. It was fun.
A lot of people think that just their change of attitude isn't really going to change their family's sucking, basically. It's like you can have a positive outlook, but it doesn't change the circumstances. You kind of have to still navigate that.
You have to keep in mind everyone has a role that they play, and it's ingrained. And your role is ingrained too. But can you change your role? Everyone, I was part of the one that contributed to this family anger. Sometimes I was the instigator because my frustration was so intense. But what if I wasn't there instigating and that wasn't my role anymore? What if I wasn't there instigating and seeking validation from my mother, who's already stressed out, to say, hey, look what dad did? That changes things. Even if it was just a moment, if you change that moment, it's huge. But the thing is, can you change yourself, or can you come into yourself enough, or can you is your level of understanding deep enough that you reach this point of acceptance? Because that's when you can really change, and that's when you can adopt a new role, and it will feel real and authentic and genuine. Yeah. It's hard. It took me decades, but I think I'm getting there. Well, everyone, thank you for watching. I know we kind of derailed a little bit from B5, but you know, these sessions are chill. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!